Welcome to the 67th edition of the REBT Advocates with Dr. Michael R. Adelstein of 3minutetherapy.com, a clinical psychologist in this Bay Area, that's in California, and me, Tommy Bateman, counselor extraordinaire in Richmond, Virginia area. Today we wanted to talk about the tyranny, or sometimes the non-tyranny, of shoulds, the conditional nature of them. There are sickening shoulds and non-sickening shoulds, and we wanted to help illuminate the difference. Michael.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks, Tommy. And yes, that's what we wanted to speak about. And the unique contribution of REBT to psychotherapy, as far as all the therapies I know of, is the importance of giving up all musts and shoulds, developing a new philosophy, a new way of looking at life, without demands, without absolutes, without must, shoulds, supposed tos, have tos, dire necessities, ought tos. And we all use those words often, but sometimes we use them in a psychopathological way, meaning they lead to emotional disturbance. They're absolutes. They're invariant, no options, no wiggle room, and that is why you get anxious, depressed, or angry, and it would be good to abolish that kind of philosophy from your life, and once you do, you're cured. However, there are other ways people use the word should or must or have to that don't lead to anxiety, depression, or anger, and so we would call them non-psychopathological shoulds, or maybe common everyday shoulds or musts. So Tommy and I will tell you about some of those. So Tommy, would you like to kick that off?
All right. Well, so the crux of the matter comes down to what we always think the crux of the matter is in REBT is, where is the evidence? That's our first question. Where is the evidence for this should, right? So, for example, I take 2 away from 4 and I should get 2. Where's your evidence for that, Tommy? Arithmetic? You got me this time. Yeah, well, that should make sense. There's nothing wrong with that should. It is a conditional should. If I take 2 away from 4, then you should have 2. That does not lead to a psychological or psychopathological disturbance. It's fine. That sort of thing. These conditional shoulds. These shoulds that if I put 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen together, I should get something I can drink. Does that make sense, Michael?
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And just some other examples of a conditional should, which is an if-then kind of should, is, for example, if I wish to stay alive, then I should eat eventually. Or if I desire to get to work on time, I should get up right now. So those are conditional if-then shoulds. And as I mentioned, if when you use them and it's not making you anxious, angry, or depressed, procrastinating, or addicted, then that's really fine. So that's a conditional should. Do you have some other shoulds there that are semi-reasonable, Tommy?
Oh, I'm full of reasonableness. But let's count, like and what Michael, the if-thens, those counterfactuals. I mean, I'm all down for. So let's contrast this. Like, so I said it's all about where is there evidence. For example, let's ask this one. This is a problematic one. If I'm not loved, I am no good. Right? That's the problematic should. I should be loved, or else I'm no good. There's no evidence for that. So that's just a contrast. Those that are new to the channel, new to REBT, that's an example of a problematic should. Where's the evidence that you should be loved, and that means you are no good, or vice versa, or whatever. That's kind of the counter example, just to contrast what we're talking about.
Yeah.
These other shoulds, these are fine. These are fine.
Yeah, that's a good point, Tommy, that I didn't mention. That another highlight, as Tommy is saying, for the irrational kind of shoulds is that it leads to global evaluations, such as I'm no good, you're no good, life is no good. So that's another way of identifying the irrational musts or shoulds, the ones we recommend you get rid of in your lexicon.
Yeah. Here's another should that I think is okay. You tell me if I'm on the right track, Michael. Okay. If you want to make the master of the house happy, you should clean it up on a regular basis. And maybe I should say, if it's maybe a better way of putting it is, if you would like to have a higher chance of making the master of the house happy, you should keep it clean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would call that a should of prediction.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I will make the master, I predict I will make the master of the house happy if I keep it clean. I'm predicting that.
Yeah.
Or I could say, according to the weather map, it should rain tomorrow. Again, it's a prediction, a predictive should or must. Or since I've been doing well in math, I should ace the exam tomorrow. Again, as long as I'm not disturbed when I think this way, talk to myself this way, and I don't have global evaluations such as, I'm an idiot if I don't do well in math in the exam tomorrow. As long as it's just should have prediction, that's fine. So that's another one.
Yeah.
Do you have anything further to say about those two, or do you have a third?
Not at the immediate point, but I'm hoping listeners, because we have been, or at least in my experience, and I think we have in comments before, pushback where I'm teaching REBT for the first time, or in this channel, I've had people say, well, like, are you saying we should never use the word should at all? And I'm like, no, REBT definitely doesn't say you should not use the word should. That's not where we're coming from at all. It's a particular demanding tyrannical type of should that we're trying to get away from, not this predictive or counterfactual or conditional type of should that we're talking about. Michael, do you have a third type?
Yes, I do have a third type, and that's called the should of existence. So if you have irrational beliefs, you should make mistakes. That means that's the way life is. People with irrational beliefs should make mistakes. Or even more broadly, if you're human, which means imperfect, you should make mistakes. So you could have sort of turned things around. Rather than saying, I should not make mistakes in the psychopathological way, you could kid yourself in a way and say, but I should make mistakes because I'm an imperfect human. So we switch the meaning of the should from the first sentence to the other, which is fine as long as you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Another example of a should of existence is, life should have one hassle after another, because that's the way life is, one hassle after another. Of course, all is not gloomy, because in between the hassles, there are joys, pleasures, and wonders. But we are going to have hassles, and you might as well accept it. And if one of the ways to accept it is you remind yourself, life should have one hassle after another. It always has, it always will, and there's no reason it should be otherwise, then you're definitely on the right track.
So people, astute listeners of the REBT Advocate, should really know what we just said, or well, what Michael just said. And he used should in there to say universal life acceptance. Yes, life should have hassles. Or we could just say life is full of hassles. There's no reason why it should be otherwise, right? You know,
that's right. As far, yeah. Now, there's another way of coming at this, and that is by using semantic precision. And I believe we have a podcast, or part of a podcast, on semantic precision. Do you recall that, Tommy?
I forgot. It's one of the earlier episodes, I think pre-20.
Yeah. So that means if you want to be a purist, and I try to be a purist, and abolish the word should and must and have to and need from your lexicon, and there's some advantages to doing that, then you're never going to, if you succeed, you're never going to use a psychopathological should, and it might help you get in touch with some of your disturbed shoulds. So you can use semantic precision, which means always use conditional terms and relative terms rather than the should term or the must term. So for example, instead of saying, if I want to stay alive, I should eat. You would say, if I want to stay alive, it would be highly desirable to eat. Or, since I've been doing well in math, rather than I should ace the exam, I predict I'll ace the exam. Or rather than life should have one hassle after another, it seems as if life has one hassle after another. It's always been that way. It will always be that way. So I might as well figure out how to live with it rather than escape addictively from it. So, so those are some alternatives to using musts and shoulds if you want to use semantic precision. Okay, I'm just about ready to wrap up. How about you, Tommy? Do you have further words of wisdom?
I have many, many words of wisdom. Prepare to hear Michael talk
I'm
about
ready.
the end of the show.
Okay, now it occurred to me that we've been using REBT sort of casually, and new viewers may not know what we're referring to. REBT stands for Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. It's the first cognitive behavior therapy devised by Albert Ellis in the mid-50s, and it spawned the many cognitive behavior therapies thereafter. Tommy Bateman is an REBT therapist, as am I, and I have a website, which is 3minutetherapy.com, my book. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment below, questions, disagreements, podcast suggestions. Also, please give us a like and subscribe to the REBT Advocates to stay on the rational side of life.
They really should have known that before they clicked the video.